If you're struggling to get coaching clients, this video will teach you the 9 most common sales mistakes that every coach should avoid. And make sure to stay until the end because the 9th mistake is the most overlooked that could be sabotaging your sales success. So let's dive right in. The first mistake that every coach makes is talking too much about themselves. When you're on a sales call, you want to be talking 20% of the time and you want to have your prospect be talking 80% of the time. Now, what most coaches do is they talk too much about their product or service. But here's the truth. When somebody, a prospective client, jumps on a call with you, even if they've expressed interest by scheduling the call, they still don't care about your product or service yet. They care about solving their problem. And the only way for you to solve their problem is to assess their situation, to diagnose it before you make a recommendation. And if you're talking too much about your coaching, the results that your past clients got, or anything like that, then you're not gauging their interest. You're not creating a connection for the very thing that they want a solution to. So that's really important. On your next sales call, I want you to go in there thinking, what are the questions that I need to ask to open up space so that this prospective client can share with me their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their doubts, their insecurities. Because as long as you got them talking 80% of the time about their problems, and then you can repeat that back to them, you have positioned your expertise and you've shown that you have a solution to their problem. You do not need to solve their problem on the sales call. When you're talking too much on a sales call, it's coming from a place of insecurity. I know this because I felt very insecure when I started. I wasn't confident in my offer. I wasn't confident in my delivery. And so I was talking too much and I lost sale opportunity after sale opportunity. So we want to shift that and make sure that the prospect is talking to 80% of the time and you're only talking about 20% of the time. The second most common sales mistake that coaches make is neglecting to frame the call or set the agenda up front. Now remember, your prospect may come to the call with a different intention that you have. Your intention is probably to sign that client, but their intention may be to pick your brain or to get some free information. And so within the first 2 minutes, you want to set the frame and the agenda of that call. Here's what's expected. Here's what we're going to cover on this call. And if you don't lead in that way, you're going to go right into answering their questions. You're going to find that you're speaking 80% of the time and they're just picking your brain, which is the worst thing. So you want to set the agenda up front. The third mistake is not uncovering the prospect's intention. Now, this is related to the second one, but that's why you want to ask, so I'm curious, why did you book this call? What specific challenge are you facing that led you to reach out to me for support? If all you do is get that one language pattern from this video and you go implement that, your conversion will double in your sales call. I guarantee you, it will absolutely happen. But if you don't uncover the intention that the prospect has, then how are you going to align your intention with theirs? Or how are you going to notice that their intention doesn't match with yours and then you end the call? You're not. And then you're going to waste 45 minutes or 60 minutes with somebody who never had the intention to hire you in the first place. So yes, you want to set the agenda up front and you want to make sure to uncover this prospect's intention, because if you don't, it doesn't matter how good your offer is if they have zero intention of working with a coach at the end. The fourth most common sales mistake that every coach should avoid is misdiagnosing the problem. Remember, people pay for solutions to their problems. So as a coach, you don't have to be a business coach for this. You could be a health coach, a relationship coach, a spiritual coach, right? But as long as you're clear on what problem you solve, your job on this call is not to coach them. It's not to solve their problem. It's to diagnose their problem. And so the mistake that many coaches make is they misdiagnose it. They're not listening. All they're doing is thinking about, what am I going to say next on my script? So you want to be super present. You want to be very grounded. You want to block out all the distractions and focus on, what is this prospect here for? What is this painful problem and why is it a problem? Those two things, what's the problem and why is this problem a problem? If all you knew was those two things, you could craft your offer to be attractive enough to enroll them, provided that they're qualified. And so that is a very, very important piece. It's the fourth mistake that I see coaches make on sales calls. The fifth is not testing their commitment level. Because somebody may have a problem, But if you don't test their commitment, they may only be a 1, 2, or 3 on the commitment scale instead of an 8, 9, or 10. And if that's the case, like previously, it doesn't matter how good your offer is, they're not going to move forward. So once you've uncovered this person's problem, you want to ask them, I'm curious, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to actually doing the work and making the sacrifices to make this change? If you're really wanting to save your marriage, you've been trying it for years and you've failed year after year, you're on the verge of divorce, what's different now? Why are you committed now where you weren't as committed 6 months ago or a year ago? You want them in this moment to enroll you. You want them to sell you on their commitment level, because nothing's worse when they weren't committed the entire time. You make a beautiful offer at the end and then they tell you, oh, it's too expensive. Or they tell you, I need to think about it. And neither of those things are true. They just don't see the value in it. Why? Because they're probably not committed enough to solve their problem. So you want to make sure to think about what are the questions you need to ask. What are the traffic light questions that you need to install in your sales process to test that commitment and to get them to an 8, 9, or 10. The sixth mistake that coaches make on sales and how to avoid them is ignoring their desired outcome. I speak a lot to clarifying somebody's problem because we're motivated by two things. One is to avoid pain, which is the problem, but the other is to experience pleasure. And so you don't want to only focus on their problem. That's going to be where the majority of your focus is. But you also want to create a gap between where they are and where they want to be. And where they want to be is their desired outcome. So part of your sales process, you want to make sure to ask about their vision. Let's fast forward a year from now. What do you want your health to look like at this stage? Or what do you want your business to look like at this stage? Right? You want to have them paint you a picture of what their ideal outcome is 1 year from today. Because now they are going to notice that they are so far off, so disconnected from that outcome, that there's a gap between where they are and where they want to be. And that gap is what's requiring you to facilitate in closing, to help them cross that gap because they've tried to do it on their own in their past and they haven't done it. So get really clear on what is that desired outcome, because if you just focus on the problem and you don't focus on the outcome, you're not going to get the motivation at the end. There's 3 more steps here, mistakes here that coaches make. So 7th mistake is not qualifying the value of the goal or the problem. You want to qualify it. Quantify it. What I mean by that is add quantification to it. So for example, if their goal is to improve the profitability of their coaching business by $50,000, then that is a quantifiable number that we can measure. If they want to lose 10 pounds, then that is a quantifiable number. But if they want to improve their relationship or be a better role model to their kids, you can still quantify it by saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you now and where do you want to be? When you quantify that, the perceived value of your coaching skyrockets in their eyes. If you fail to quantify it, then they're going to hear your cost, they're going to hear the price of your program, and they're not going to think the value, they're going to think about the cost. So maybe your program is $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. If they don't see a 10x return on that investment, they're not going to move forward. And so it's your job, not theirs, it's your job to ask the questions that unpack that this is a 10 times value, the price that you're asking them to pay. That's really, really important. So asking a question like, so I'm curious, if you were to save your marriage, how much would that be worth to you financially, emotionally, mentally, right? Get them to quantify that. If you were to double your business in the next 90 days, what sort of impact would that have on your bottom line? I want them to tell me because they're enrolling me into the value of the outcome. The 8th common sales mistake that every coach makes is waiting until the end to address objections. Now, this is a mistake that I see so many coaches make because what they do is they feel a little bit uncomfortable on the call. And so they think, if I just have more time with this person, I'm going to develop more rapport, I'm going to add more value, and I'm going to be able to crush these objections at the end. But the problem is it's a heck of a lot harder to to overcome or handle objections at the end than it is to eliminate them up front. And so when you're crafting your sales process, you want to make sure to strategically ask questions that eliminate the objections in the first place. That's why one of the first questions I ask is, why did you book the call? And do you actively want support in solving this problem? Because what I don't want to do is get to the end of my call, make my offer, and have them not wanting support in the first place. And now I've got to overcome that objection. I've got to handle that objection where before I could have eliminated it before it even showed up. Now, I know you stuck around at the end of this video because you wanted the 9th mistake to avoid, because this is the most common, it's the most hidden, and it has the most negative impact on sabotaging your sales success. So the 9th mistake that coaches make in their sales process is not asking for the sale. It's not being direct and making an offer. And let me take a step back. You do make an offer. Coaches make offers, but they don't ask for the sale. They don't say, are you ready to get started? Let's go ahead and get you scheduled. What card do you want to use for payment? Why? Because it's uncomfortable. Why? Because we're afraid of rejection. Why? Because we don't want to fail in their eyes. But if you don't ask, you won't get the client. And so I want you from this moment forward to decide and to declare that when you're on the phone with somebody, provided that you know enough about them where you genuinely can help this person, it is your moral responsibility to make an offer. It is your moral responsibility to pitch them and to ask them to make a decision to move forward. Because if they're a yes, awesome. If they're a no, awesome. But if they're a maybe, if they're a let me think about it, if they haven't been explicitly asked by you to move forward, then that's the biggest disservice that you could ever provide them with. And so that's the shift that I want you to make. If you did not address or fix any of the sales mistakes that I made in this video, except this one at the very end, the 9th one, your sales conversion would double if that's all you did. But if you actually implemented the rest of these changes, you could triple, you could 5x, you could 10x your sales process. So those are the 9 most common sales mistakes that I see every coach make. Now that you know what they are, I recommend downloading a free copy of my high converting sales process, my sales script for coaches. If you want my word for word script that you can use to start enrolling clients right away, then either click the link in the description below or just comment the word script below this video and my team will send you a copy. Now, before I wrap up this video, I've recently noticed that only 23% of you are subscribed to my channel. And so I have a favor to ask. If you've gotten value from this video, then just go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now so that you never miss a future video. This allows me to create a lot more content for you going forward. And once you've subscribed, make sure to check out my next video up here in the corner, which is how to introduce yourself as a coach. If you want to know how to position yourself when you're at a networking event, then click up here, watch this video, and I'll see you in the next video. My name is Peter Scott, reminding you to be here, act now, and fear less.